Okay, so we're going to dive deep into this section then. So we got a basic idea for what it is to be a manipulator, and we got a basic idea of what it is to be an influencer. Basic idea. We're going to spend this session then going deep into what it is to be a salesman. What it is to be someone involved in motivation, manipulation, and force. Okay, ultimately engaged in a place in which hype and distortion is necessary. So if we flip back and we look at our cycle here, and we look at our place here, we're looking at marketing, sales, and fulfillment. Again, we're talking about this middle section. Let me use a different color here. We're talking about this middle section here of sales. Crucial piece to the pie. And when you're driving for fulfillment, or as we've talked about here in our second page in our last session, sales itself is crucial to driving the bottom line. I mean, ultimately, your profits in your business and the profits in the products, the services, and experiences that you're selling, this profitability itself is a function of your ability to sell. Marketing does nothing more than create the opportunity for you to sell. But what we're creating here is a distinction and saying we don't have to sell, we can influence. And influence is very different than selling. So let's talk about what motivation and selling is, though, first, so we can create the powerful context there, so we can get that to work. All right, good. So let's create this center. We're going to take this section right here, we're going to move it to a brand new page. So we're going to write up here, salesperson. I don't really want to write salesperson. So I'm going to write salesman. If you're a woman watching this, you get to know that I meant you too. I'm going to write salesman. How many of you have had this experience? You're walking into a store, you're going into a place where ultimately they have products and services that you want, but what you experience when you walk in, and you all know what I'm talking about. You walk into the store, say you're at the shoe store. You really do want a pair of shoes. You've got $150 in your pocket or less that you're excited about spending on shoes. You walk into the store, and as you're standing there and you're looking at something, one of the salespeople or the customer service salespeople come up to you, and what do they say? Can I help you find anything? And what's your immediate response? Oh no, I'm just looking. Now the reality is you are not just looking. In most cases, you've gone in full well intended to spend some money. You want to spend some money. So here's my big question. What is it about the old model of salesmanship that has people walk into stores and onto car lots in which they truly want to spend money, but walking into those locations, there's this anxiety to actually say, yeah, you know what, this is what I'm looking for, can you assist me? What is it about it? I remember the very first time I went to some workshops and seminars, I was sitting next to some individuals the very first time, some of the very first times, I was in an event where people were promoting products and services, and they were selling a $10,000 ticket to a workshop. And I'm sitting in this event, and I'm experiencing it, and it's the very first time, and the speaker's going, and he's going like crazy, and he's going like crazy, and you're going to be a bajillionaire. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be a bajillionaire. And he got to the price. And it was crazy because there was a game of pressure that was put on that was so intense for me in that space. So intense, I started feeling uncomfortable. Like the energy of the experience totally changed for me. Now I've gotten at this point in my life, 9 years later, that guess what? It was more about me than had anything to do with the event or anything to do with the instructors or the speakers. It was me. I had chosen to experience it that way. My question was, though, why? What was it about the situation that had me feel so anxious? What was it about getting to end of somebody's presentation when I know they're going to promote a product or service that really could be beneficial to me? Why did I feel so off? Why is it when we walk into a store and a salesperson asks me if I need help, why do I say, no, I'm just looking? Why is it when I walk into a car lot or someone from a network marketing company comes up and promotes or speaks to me, or somebody calls me and they're an insurance agent or something, why is my initial inclination to go like this and put my walls up? Now you know what I'm talking about because this is the space you're in. The crazy thing is, as a consumer, you feel that way. But as a business owner and as an entrepreneur, oftentimes we go do exactly what we despise other people doing to us. We'll say, I hate it when people call me on my phone and solicit me. Yeah, what are we doing to people every day? You'll see the same people out making phone calls soliciting people for business. Now you have a situation in which you'll have a person who's complaining about they put no solicitation up on their door at their house or no solicitation up on the business window. Yet these are the same companies that are out soliciting other people's business every single day, all day long. Why have we built such a resistance to this conversation of sales? Consider for a moment, it's because salesmanship itself, for many, many decades in our country's history, has been a game of manipulation. There were some events that used to be done here around the country called Get Motivated seminars. Here's the crazy thing about motivation. Motivation, manipulation, and force. All three of these require a false sense of security found in hype. So the first thing we understand then is that salesmen, in order to create certainty, which this word itself, certainty, is the number one key to producing movement in another person. You and I sitting in this conversation, ultimately the person with the greatest certainty will have a hedge up or an edge up in the conversation. Typically the person with the most certainty, not all the time, but typically the person with the most certainty is the one who's doing the most talking. The person with the least amount of certainty is doing the least amount of talking. The person with the most certainty in sales and in influence tends to show up in a way of more confidence, more power. But here's the crazy thing. As a salesperson, what we tend to create is we create a bunch of hype. We use hype as a method to create certainty. There's a phrase used in the sales world that I was taught growing up, and it was, fake it till you make it. What a load of crap. Realistically, what they were saying was, you get to show up and be a liar, and you get to show up in hype. And your lies and your hype are going to be utilized to create certainty. So you say whatever you have to produce the outcome. You say whatever you have to in order to guarantee the result. You say whatever you have to in giving promises, over-promising, ultimately under-delivering, over-promising in order to create the one thing that the consumer was looking for from you, and this was certainty. Now, certainty is the one factor that's the same between being a salesperson and being an influencer. Being an inauthentic salesperson requires the same amount of energy as it does to be an authentic influencer. The game that they're looking for and where they connect is certainty, right in the middle. Certainty is necessary in both sides. The salesman lives on temporary certainty, while the influencer lives on permanent certainty. Temporary certainty is always and constantly found outside of a person's experience. They seek for the cars, the watches, the suits, the things, the houses, the stuff. All of this creates a level of certainty for them. In a way, it also becomes a huge mask in order to hide the lie and to promote the hype. So in this situation, in this conversation of lying or stretching the truth, we could call that lying too, building with hype or over-promising, and our masks, we create temporary certainty by leveraging things outside of us. This is why salespeople typically use cars, houses, and a whole bunch of other things to create movement in you and movement in other people to get to outcomes. They'll use sexy women, they'll use fast cars, big houses, lots of money, and they will constantly talk to you about how much money they're making. Because they know that that tool, that identity drug for you outside of you, is a tool that will get you to move into temporary certainty. By looking at them, you want to be them. So as we sit in this conversation then and we finish up this session, understand here then as a salesman, we're talking about someone who uses lies, hype, masks the truth, and creates temporary certainty by leveraging outside of them. They're individuals that are focused upon motivation. They're focused upon manipulation, and ultimately draw upon the energy of fear, the energy of force, baselined in scarcity. Our next session, we're going to talk about what it is to be an authentic influencer. So, stick through with me, go to the next session. Let's talk about the contrast.